Welcome to It Happened in Grand Prairie, Texas, as we bring you the history of our city and some of the people that have helped to make that history, and some continue to make history to this very day. We're at our history tape number 649, and we're delighted to welcome you to our wonderful show that we have arranged for you today. And we're so pleased to make some introductions to you. First of all, Tammy Chan with the City of Grand Prairie, Texas, is a mover and shaker in so many different arenas that it's hard to get just a list of them. And she is the Special Projects Manager and a recent promotion for the City of Grand Prairie, Texas. And if you think it's easy to be a Special Projects Manager, she is busy all of the time. Welcome to the show, Tammy.
Thank you, Miss Ruthie. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. You have so many interesting things under your direction as a Special Events Manager, and you have brought a beautiful young lady with us today, and I'd like for you to introduce Pam for you.
I sure would. Today I have Pam Miney, who's the Communication Manager with the Grand Prairie Police Department.
Yes.
And we work together on a special project that I hope to tell your guests about today.
Oh, now you're very creative, Tammy. Special projects can be anything from the environment to picking up trash, for planting gardens, for doing a multitude of other assignments that you've had. But this is a brand new one on us. Tell us what you're doing.
Well, one of my wonderful aspects of my job, mainly to beautify the city, is to oversee the city's public art program.
So we're into public art history at this time, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We have a lot of art in the city, and a lot of people have seen some of it but don't really realize maybe the significance of it or what it is or how it got there. So I wanted to share a little bit about that history today.
Before you start getting into the history then, how does Pam fit into the history of all of these things? And we want to get a little bit more about her credentials. Is it all right if I interview her just a little bit? Well, you introduce her perfectly, all that you know about her, and I'm going to ask her some more questions.
Okay, well, I want to tell her how she fits in with public art.
All right.
Pam served on a committee that we formed of public safety officials, the police and fire department, to create a new public safety memorial and tribute at the new Public Safety Center off of 161.
You mean that big building out on 161?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a committee? How many were on the committee?
About 8 people were on the committee, fire and police. We had different people come in at different times, but we always had representation from both departments. And the city has a policy, a public art policy, that whenever we're going to build a new facility, we're going to try to incorporate a public art piece with it. And so had a budget to work on with this project and pulled together Chief Hill and Chief Nelson and asked them to send representatives to serve along with them on this subcommittee to create a vision for what piece could go at that facility. There was a notch, if you will, or an impression left in the building about 30 feet by 20 feet that we were given to do an art piece there. So it was a blank slate. And so Pam was selected by Chief Hill to serve on that subcommittee to represent the dispatch and other elements of the police department. And so I'm so excited. I wanted to have her a chance today to talk a little bit about that and what she experienced.
Okay, Miss Pam, that's wonderful that you were on this special committee, but I want to know how long you've been in Grand Prairie, Texas.
I was born here in Grand Prairie, Texas.
Born in Grand Prairie, Texas. Yes. Isn't that wonderful? Well, we won't ask for how many years because that would be getting rude all of a sudden, but, and you attended school?
Yes. Elementary, I went through Immaculate Conception.
All right.
And then the 6th grade went to Travis Elementary, went through Jefferson Junior High, and graduated from Grand Prairie High School.
A pure gopher all the way here.
Yes, all the way.
Watching over and doing things for not only Gophers, but Warriors and all of the other entities that we have in the Grand Prairie ISD system now. That is wonderful. And you give me about your family.
Well, my husband, Lieutenant Ron Miney, he also works for the police department. He's been there approximately 38 years. And then we also have a son that is working for the City of Grand Prairie in the IT department,
And
Brad
you would give
Miney.
us his name?
Brad Miney.
Brad. So the Brad's on the board now.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have another daughter that works for the Irving Police Department in communications.
Oh, that is wonderful.
And then her name is Cammie Miney. And then we have one more, Michelle.
Tammy and Michelle.
Cammie and Michelle. Michelle doesn't work for any police department. She's a stay-at-home mom, mother of 2, and her husband's in the Air Force, and they live in Abilene.
Oh, that's and you'll let one get out of the DFW
That's
area.
right.
That is
One
good.
got away.
One got away, but that's great in the Air Force, and
Yes.
and Abilene is a good place. The wind
Yes,
blows
she
a
loves
lot.
it. Well, yes, it does do that.
It does do that. And before you tell us, we know that you're with the police department. How long have you been with that?
I have been at the police department for 32 years.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Most of my career was spent in dispatch. I started out PBX dispatch.
Yeah,
Was Deputy Chief Miller's secretary for a while, and after that I was in the jail for approximately 5 years. So I worked in detention for a while,
But
and then
you weren't in the jail. You worked
no. I
outside
worked in the jail. I worked in the jail, and then I transferred back into communications, and I've been
love
there
it
since.
now?
Yes, I really love it. I especially love the new facility. It is beautiful.
Yes.
It is just beautiful.
And tell us about your experience on this committee.
Well, we first started out, we weren't sure what type of art we wanted to go with. And so we came up with several designs, and then she had brought several artists, and we gave them kind of an idea. In fact, the badge sort of started with the little pictures within that the fire department went with. That actually came from Officer Witherspoon. That was sort of his idea to put some pictures in with that. And so the artist took our ideas, and then they kind of did some samples of what they thought we wanted, and then we kind of voted on the ones that we liked the best. And then once we kind of narrowed it down, then Chief Hill sent out for the full department, sent a sample for the entire department, and then they voted on the one that they wanted to go with, which is the one we have now.
And everyone in Grand Prairie is so pleased.
Yes.
That is not a piece of art. That is pieces of art that have come together and made a wonderful, wonderful presentation of why the building is so important to the city of Grand Prairie, Texas.
Yes, I'm very proud. I'm very proud that I was able to be a part of it, because now I can actually say, well, yeah, I had some say in that,
And
because
all the
it
rest of
turned
your
out
family
beautiful.
just has to gloat.
That's right.
Yeah, so they just have to gloat for you.
That's true. That is true.
That is really wonderful. That is a very new, famous piece of art in Grand Prairie, Texas.
Yeah, a little bit about that piece. There's granite stone that was etched with the machine. I think I've given some pictures that can hopefully be shown as part of this segment. And the etching goes, less than 1/4 of an inch deep. And when they etch it, leaves a white mark on the black granite. So that's what you're seeing. And the artist Ken Perkins out of Colorado competed. We had 3 artists that we looked at.
Yes.
And Officer Witherspoon had the idea that Pam mentioned to take imagery of the police and fire in action and then etch it on the granite. So it would be a tribute to the profession, as well as there's plaques on the side that memorialize any fire and police officers we lost in action. And so if you look at the fire badge, you will see, and those are actual Grand Prairie images. And in the center of the fire badge, for example, there's one of the, I believe he's a lieutenant out there working, and the artist etched his imagery, and they selected him because he had such a high skill. And so the artist did his etching on what's called a scratch board. And Miss Ruthie, that's a piece of clay, basically, that's covered with a white paint. And then the artist does a reverse etching, and then that's shot and digitized and then put in a computer and etched on the granite.
Oh, man.
So we separated it in basically 2 art projects. One was the line art, and the other was the actual etching of it. And then installed these very heavy pieces onto the building. And then the police badge, interestingly, Pam alluded to this, has, can you tell me about the shrouded badge a little bit?
Well, originally, I believe the first concept was similar to the fire department, where it has the action pictures in there. But I think that the majority of the officers preferred the shrouded badge.
The shrouded
and
badge.
the
Oh, yes, that would be
shrouded badge
meaningful.
has the Latin verse on it,
Yeah,
which
means let no impunity come against me.
yes.
So when you go to the public safety building and you see that was so important to the police officers
Yes.
to represent
Yes.
dignity and respect to the profession and also to those who've been lost in the line of duty.
That's
So
wonderful.
this is a real exciting art piece. I also got to coordinate the art piece for the Public Safety Training Center where this studio is located, and that piece is kind of fun. I have a funny story, historical story for you, Ms. Reethy. I worked with the committee again of the police and fire, and on that piece, y'all are very competitive, the police
Yes,
and the
they
fire.
are.
And so the police officer said, put a flat in the fire truck. And the firefighter said, position that axe so it looks like it's cutting his arm off. And, and the firefighter said, the police officer's taller than us.
Yes.
And interesting, I hope your viewers can come and see this piece at the Public Safety Training Center off College. That piece, the police officers voted to have an unnamed officer, so the nameplate on the badge is blank, but all of the garb and the uniform is exact to Grand Prairie specifications. And then the firefighters voted to put the name Swadley on the back of that uniform in memory of J.C. Swadley, who
Yes.
died in the line of duty. And there's two children there. One's playing with a police car and a fire truck, and it represents that these public safety staff are the protectors of future generations
Yes.
and the community, but they're also a career that these kids could aspire to. And while we were working with the artist, Chief Hill and I had to make several trips down to Austin, and the firefighters said they wanted their firefighter to look more Marlboro-y man-y. So we had to get the artist to add a brushy mustache on that piece. And that's a real interesting process too. When you create a bronze sculpture, you create a clay form, and then you create a plaster covering. I didn't do this, the foundry did. And then those plaster pieces are take them to a foundry, and the foundry fills that with the bronze, and it's 1/4 of an inch thick. So it's not solid bronze.
Yes.
And we do have to clean it every so often. You just clean it with
It's
like
beautiful.
turtle wax
Yeah.
polish. So those are the two public safety pieces. We had a couple other installations that I wanted to that we have been installed that are history for Grand Prairie. People might not realize. Of course, everybody's hopefully seen the mural at Beltline and 30.
Yes.
And
That's beautiful.
on
That
the-
is so beautiful.
It is.
And that's the only one they haven't tagged so far.
No, they haven't.
Cross your fingers that they will not tag that because it is so beautiful.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think that's why.
Yeah.
They appreciate the beauty of it.
A couple of things on that piece are it is painted with a graffiti resistant paint, and research shows that if you have graffiti in your area, paint a mural, and hopefully, y'all
Right.
get those calls for graffiti to the police department, but that hopefully they won't tag another artist's work. And on that piece, as you go under the underpass at Beltline and 30, on the right side are what you call the prey.
Yes.
There's the birds and the, I'm sorry, that the right side or the west side, the east side has the predators, the wolves and other, there's hidden animals in there. On the west side of that mural is the prey with the buffalo and the deer and the horses and things like that. And it's supposed to symbolize going underneath the Trinity watershed. And Miss Aretha, you were very significant in that art piece. I don't know if you realize that, because you were the one that told me that the Trinity River historically had been moved
Yes.
in Grand Prairie.
Yes, it is.
And so we chose that bridge partly because we were trying to have a welcome area, but also to represent that the Trinity River kind of flowed near there. It's north of there now, but they actually moved.
From Tarrant Road is where it came down.
So we tried to bring it back.
Yes.
So it's a little further south of its actual location. And that artist was Tommy Weddle, and he did a one-man miracle, painted it with a 3-inch brush with the oil-based paint. We have put a clear coat on it to keep the ozone from affecting the blue paint.
Yeah.
That paint tends to fade a little bit quicker than other colors, and we'll continue to do that. The paint's guaranteed for 10 years. We're coming up on that now. We may have to do some touch-ups. Who knows what the future holds for that. I hope we can preserve that art piece. And then another exciting piece is up there at the Tourist Information Center.
Yes, it is.
The Terry Jackson Tourist Information Center. There's a triptych. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, Pam.
I haven't.
A triptych means 3 panels, and it's carved out of steel with a laser cutter. And if you go up close, there's imagery of tourism in Grand Prairie.
Yeah.
And so there's Traders Village, there's the golfing, Joe Pool Lake, the marina, things like that, and there's kids in the sports. And if you look, you can even see the thread on the soccer ball has been etched into that piece. And the artist that did that piece, it was a lot of fun. She got the laser cutting on a shiny steel plate, and then she took a squirter and squirted acid on it to get the rust look, which creates a patina that kind of matches the building there, a nice warm color with the cool concrete base. And so that's an exciting piece representing tourism in Grand Prairie. Can I tell you about some more?
We can't miss the new center for the adult seniors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have two. Actually, we have several pieces there. I'm going to start with one that
Don't forget about the tree.
I won't
this
forget
is
about
in
the
the
tree.
park.
I won't.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll just start with the tree. The tree.
Well, what I want to know is, did Pam serve on any committee for that part, or was yours just for the one for the police
Strictly on the
department?
police part.
But the process that Pam participated in was the same process for these other pieces. The city manager, Mr. Hart, has said when we do an art piece, it will have community input on it. It's not going to be Mr. Hart picking an art piece or me picking an art piece. It's going to be representative of the community. And so that's a good thing. Mr. Hart, one time, he wanted to do, I'm going to get in trouble on this. He wanted to do a sculpture for the new animal park, and it would be a German Shepherd. It would be a fountain, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And so you'd have a fire hydrant with the dog relieving himself, and that's the fountain. And so I had a mock-up of the art piece done. It was really great. You know, my fear is that somebody would cut it off and steal it because it was such a good sculpture. You know, what people, not that they wouldn't like it, but that would be too popular.
Exactly.
We still have that possibility. But the tree at the new summit, there was a huge committee for that project. It's the largest art project that the city has ever undertaken. It's a 45-foot tall black willow tree, and it's made out of aluminum branches that have tiny little black lip mollusk shells that are hand hewn. So the artist cut those out of like little mollusk shells and trimmed them to look like leaves. And it's an interactive piece. It interacts with the wind and the environment and the water. It reflects the light. It reflects the earth. It makes sound. And it's a perfect art piece for our environmental leadership at that site. You know, we worked really hard to have the LEED certified buildings there, and have this tree there is an exciting project. The mayor served on that committee. Mr. Hart served on the committee. We had representation from parks and from marketing. We had citizens from the park board serve on it, and so it was a really great effort to see. You know, we had a lot of great proposals for that one too. And then another piece at the summit that you and I have a close relationship on is called Convergence. And that piece represents the Trinity River watershed. And it's made out of Texas shell limestone. And if you look at that shell, you can see that limestone, you can see shell imprints. That's history right there, Ms. Ruthie. You can go touch that stone. I encourage you to touch it. And so there's 2 pillars, and in between the pillars are glass pieces, and the glass are a metaphor for the Trinity River. and then there's arms or shelves sticking out, and they represent the political structure of the city. There's 6 council districts, so there's 6 arms sticking out to welcome you to the center. And the turquoise of the glass, that's the metaphor for water, just does such a beautiful thing with the turquoise copper panels of the summit. Yeah, it's really exciting. There's a piece out front too that I love. It's dominoes, a stack of dominoes in the front, and it's supposed to be representative. A lot of people are like, why didn't they put the dots on the dominoes so that you can see that that's exactly what it is? But that makes it too hard. You have to, I mean, it takes the fun of it away,
Right.
you know. And we also have some art pieces up there at the Grand, I can't think of the name of the ballpark, Quick Trip Ballpark. Yeah. And those pieces are representative of the Air Hogs. You know, those are bronze pieces.
And the Air Force is their theme, really.
Yes, ma'am. And, you know, we have a long history of aviation. Well, you were Rosie the Riveter yourself, you know,
Right.
building these aircraft. So what a wonderful picture of our history in art at
Yes.
Quick Trip Park. And then Lone Star Park has an art piece as
Oh,
well.
it's gorgeous.
Yeah, that Cindy and Terry Burleson created the sculpture of a horse at Run, which has become really their logo for Lone Star Park. And that art piece, the artists that did that art piece are the same artists that did the piece with the police and firefighter and the 2 kids here
Oh,
at the
yes.
Public Safety Training Center. So future art projects that are going to come up are the bas reliefs, like we've done at Beltline and Main Street, the bridge, the Union Pacific Railroad Bridge.
Yes.
There's reliefs of prairie grasses and
They're beautiful.
blue bonnets. I thought you'd like that. And we worked with TxDOT and their landscape architects to have art in motion in that project. So we're working on frontage road designs for I-30 now for some of the retaining walls to get something representative maybe of some of our, you know, things that make us special in Grand Prairie while still tapping into our prairie look.
I'd like to thank you for the art at the Ruthie Jackson Center. The garden
Yes,
is the most beautiful garden in Grand Prairie, Texas, as far as I can
It is
tell.
gorgeous.
you know, I don't deserve that, thanks. That's Steve Plumer in the Parks Department. He's a landscape architect and I think an artist too. I know Susan
Well, that's
Henson
part of
had
your
us on
art.
it. Well, I claim it when I promote the
Yes.
city's public art, but really Steve had the vision for that, and it is a piece of art. And inside the Ruthie Jackson Center, there's a Percent for Art piece, which is the beautiful fountain.
Fountain. Oh,
With
that is
the-
gorgeous. And the artist for that has passed away.
Oh, I didn't know
The
that.
creator of that.
Wow, I didn't know that. Well, Kathy Ritterhouse with the city's library division, she has done a wonderful job also of amassing art for our public art collection. That
And the
she
2
puts-
little kids that are sitting out on a bench in front of the
Yes.
library.
and
That's so
her
cute.
friends of the library paid for that art piece. And so if you go inside the library, there's not only paintings but also sculptures. So there's a whole team of people working together to promote the arts for the city, not even to mention, you know, the Grand Prairie Arts Council, who in the Grand Prairie Association of Artists, who work together to create art for today too. So I wanted to have this chance. I'm so glad you let me in the historical piece to give people a tour of, you know, kind of a little tour of art in Grand Prairie.
That's wonderful. Of all of your creativity, I guess my favorite still has to be the garden. And I know that Pam's favorite is going to have to be the new safety center
Yes.
out on 161. And
Yes.
so we have 2 votes against you already. If you've picked another, is your favorite?
Well, you know, I'm partial to that Trinity River piece at the summit because I'm such a proponent, like you are, of the Trinity River. I just love the awareness
Yes.
that piece brings. But I like all of them. You know, one I didn't mention, again, the kudos go to the Parks Department and probably mostly Tim Snogel, is the Veterans Memorial
Oh, yes.
over behind
yes,
the old
yes.
senior center. You know, the vision for that was all over the place,
Yes.
and I think you were very involved in that. And that,
Yes.
that represents the 5 branches of the military in such a dignified, beautiful way. With landscaping can be art too, and so that's another art piece. At the summit, and Rick Harold, you should have him on in the future to talk about this. But they're looking at doing maybe a trail of art through that facility. So hopefully we'll have even more to tell you about.
That's good. That is wonderful. Well, Pam, you are just really wonderful to give us the experience of a committee. We've never
Yes.
talked about a committee being in charge of this before, and I want to thank you, Tammy, for bringing Miss Pam with you. That was great happening, and I'd like for you to look out into your guest camera, and I'd like for you to thank everyone in Grand Prairie that had a part in all of the art that you're taking credit for today. Would you do that?
I would. I first want to say thank you to Tom Hart, city manager, for having a vision for the arts, and for our council for being supportive of that, participating on every committee we've had. I want to thank the artists who have made Grand Prairie such a more beautiful place, the staff who helps to maintain these pieces, all the way down to someone like not down, but across to Mona Lisa Galicia, who does the insurance for it. It takes a whole team of people to have arts in the city, and I thank everybody for helping.
Okay. Now, Pam, look out into
Yes.
your guest camera and tell them how excited you were to get appointed to that committee, and
Oh,
you
yes.
just ask everyone to come and see what you helped create at the senior.
Yes, I would love for everyone to come down and see the artwork at the new public safety building. It is beautiful, and I really enjoyed being a part of being able to express my vision of what I thought would be nice for the building. So if anyone hasn't seen it yet, please come on down and tour the building. It's a beautiful facility.
And it was wonderful for you to represent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of police and fire in the city of Grand Prairie, Texas, and you got to be it.
Yes.
Isn't that great? Well, I want to
Yes.
thank y'all very much for being here today and bringing our program, bringing what we were going to talk about, and all of the information that you have delivered today. And I know Mr. Don Johnson is glad that we've gotten this on tape for him, because he ran through a lot of problems with our equipment here, so we're going to have to hustle some more equipment for Don Johnson, because he is invaluable to us for all of the things that he does. And thank you for watching our show. It's very important that we do history, because history as we live and do is very important, and that we document it as correctly as we possibly can. And we're going to check into all of these things, and we're glad to know what side of the Trinity, whether it was on the south side or the north side. Originally it was on the cotton picking south side, and they changed it so they could build I-30. And thank you for bringing that up today, Tammy.
Thank
We
you, Miss
appreciate y'all
Ruthie.
And
very
thank
much.
you so much for having me on.
Thank you for watching our show.